Today, we're going to be talking about the best opening to crush Grandmasters. So, what makes a Grandmaster so overpowered? And I believe that the answer is they're like an encyclopedia for openings. I really don't think it's too crazy. Middle games, end games, whatever. I mean, they don't die. That's true. You need to beat them like 7 times in one game. Fair. But if you can't do that, then, figure out how to do that. But on top of that, it's really just the reason they crush people that are not grandmasters is just the immense opening knowledge that they have and the understanding of the structure of the position if they don't do what they're supposed to do. Probably because they've reviewed hundreds of games. I don't know. They put a lot of time into it. But that brings me to an interesting idea. So I've realized that I don't lose a lot against grandmasters when I play the Grand Prix. So if they play the Sicilian and I play the Grand Prix, it's going to be an equal game. I'm okay with that. You should be okay with that. It's an equal game. So I'm going to recommend the Grand Prix. I made a series on it way back when. I'm going to delve into it again because it's so overpowered. I know Judith Polgar played it a lot. Back in that day, it was like the most common thing. And then people realized the computer doesn't give it a 0.2 advantage, so they stopped playing it. Also, based off the stats of yesterday's video, I see that a lot of people that watch me are Nakamura fans, so I am not. I still think he's a bitch, but, dislikes are cool. So, f4, it's going to be a Sicilian and knight f3. So the open Sicilian plays for d4, the closed Sicilian plays for f4. This is the closed Sicilian. Basically, the ideas are going to be you're going to attack on the king side, and you're going to rotate your pieces over to the king side. Now, again, I made videos on it. There's multiple ways to play it with the bishop on c4, but then they go e6, and you're like, why is my bishop on c4? So bishop to b5 is the line that I like. I'm going to leave the bar up. You see 0.0. Now, the point of removing this knight is actually less so about doubling up their pawns, though that is nice when that does happen. Then you would just stop c4 from ever happening, and their light scored bishop, it's hard to make it good. But the true purpose of removing this knight over here is to be able to shift over the queen and not have to deal with this fork on c2, dropping the queen back to d1. That's the true essence of the move. So, okay, we get this line where he's playing whatever, and then I give him the bishop pair. But this bishop, I'm not scared of it. It hits a pawn chain, and this is the nice thing about this opening. You're going to get a game. Like, you're guaranteed a game against a better player or someone higher rated than you, and then you can make things happen because it's a systems-based opening, and structurally the ideas are typically the same. And it's very fun, too. You get a kingside attack going very quickly. So queen to e1, you see, and now I don't need to deal with knight b4, bringing my queen back, or having it on f2 where they go like boop, boop, something like that. Double D pawns can actually be good because then they can target the C pawn. I hope you're following. I have videos on that. Now I go B3. And to be fair, B3 is better when you have their pawns doubled. Here you should really go queen h4 and play more for f5. But that's what you should do. So if you get this position, play that. I went b3. Pawn to b5. Okay, he's trying to go boop and boop. So we go knight or bishop here. And then knight d1. And I love this knight. So don't bring it to e2 because there's never good prospects like that. Knight on d1, it guards the bishop on b2. If there's an exchange, it can outpost itself on c4, kind of, sort of. If not, though, we have knight e2, knight f3. Purpose of knight f2 is to play for g4, g4, g5. Purpose of knight e3 is you don't let him know your next move. But it does block the queen, so win some, lose some. We get knight h5. Not a great move. It aims at the pawn on f4. I get the trade because that was his fianchettoed bishop, right? That was his kingside bishop giving him protection. My bishop wanted to trade with his bishop. He let me trade his bishop, so I traded bishops. Kind of, you get the memo? Get the logic. Queen h4. Okay, I'm not going to lose my f4 pawn. And that's a stupid knight. And this reminded me of the tournament game I had in Colombia against the GM when I was up a knight and a pawn. And you know what happened there. But, yeah, they get their knights on h5, kind of like a King's Indian, but it doesn't belong on h5 at all. Okay, so when f5 is played, what do you do? So what square does f5 weaken when f5 is played? It weakens e6. That is a mega fork. So you try to get the mega fork, and you do that by going knight to g5. Now they block it, of course. not many ways to block it, right? If rook f6, you'd go like boom, 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 and yeah, they get forked. So they go queen d7, and now I'm like, don't I just take? They're like, okay, I have a good bishop. Fair statement. But how do they take back? They can't take that way. They take back with the rook. And you could go g4 right away, but improve your position. Knight to e3, connecting rooks, right? It's all about activity. Rook still has to move. They can give up the exchange, but they don't give up the exchange. So now g4, the knight is trapped. They go h6, and here I could have went knight h3, and the knight is still trapped. But the funny thing about Grandmasters is I'd rather be in an endgame that I love endgame. So I'd rather be in an endgame where I just have a feeling that I'm going to win than be in a middle game up a piece, because then what happens in the tournament game happens. And we don't want that to happen. So I trade off into the endgame, h6 check. I reconnect the pawns aiming at the rook. He's forced to trade, and now I control the only open file on the board. So I was like, no shot, I'm going to lose this. This time I finally didn't, though. Okay, queen to e6. He wants to take this. Queen f4. And yeah, remember how I said Grandmasters don't die? He found the best move in this position. Surprising, but rook to f8. Can you believe that's the best move? Right? Just hangs a rook. You have to take it. And now he takes with check. Don't go rook f2, because if you go rook f2, there is a perpetual. That is not good. So, right, because, oops, boom, 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 perpetual. No bueno. So, I go queen f2. He takes a pawn, but now I have queen g3. Queen d2, and then I'm like, okay, check. And, okay, look how unsafe his king is. However, if you just try to checkmate him, he has a draw. So there's always tricks up their sleeves. You know, you got to play precisely the whole game throughout. That's the biggest difference I noticed. But they're really not superhumans. They're just really good at openings. Like, I promise you, that is what the majority of it is. If you don't see ghosts, and if you just don't have a bad game, and you make it out of the opening, they're completely just normal chess players. So after king h8, rook takes e7. The point is that on any check now, I drop my rook back, and it's protected by the queen. Now when they take, again, I'm just like, let me trade off. There's no more checks. They would have to go for this endgame, which I could quite literally win with my eyes closed. But so they went queen c3, but now just check and mate. So I hope you guys learned the Grand Prix. I have many videos on it. They might be bad videos because they're really old videos, but I just think maybe the mic quality might have been bad. But yeah, I will forever love the Grand Prix. It is the easiest opening to play, and for some reason Grandmasters just, I don't know, they just don't know how to play against it, I guess. So as always, thank you guys for watching. I will be going overseas on Tuesday, but I will try to upload tomorrow and Monday, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good day. Boom. Stop recording right there.